Boo! This is my Michael Jackson Smooth Criminal hat, also known as holiday mode, because today we're in Paris and it's 42 degrees Celsius, which means there's not a lot of sightseeing to be done. However, that's good news for Run Viewer, because we're staying in the 12th arrondissement. Sorry, I don't really talk French at all whatsoever. It's incredibly embarrassing, so be prepared for that. But we're there. In the district to the sort of southeast of the city, and in this district is what is perfect for a day like this an absolutely huge park, the Bois de Vincennes. Bois de Vincennes. I wrote that down phonetically. The Bois de Vincennes. It's a big old ancient forest, 2,459 acres. That's 10% of Paris. It's the second largest green space in the city. And today it is a lovely public park. So it was turned into a public park in the mid-1800s as part of the Paris renovations by Baron Haussmann and I think Emperor Napoleon III. And what they did basically was make Paris, they kind of regenerated it to quite a lavish budget. And this, on the eastern part of the city, was meant to be a lovely green lung for the working class population here. So it had been opened to the public previously by one of the kings that owned it. There's the remains of chateaus here. There's all sorts of little things to explore. So there's 4 lakes today. There's floral gardens, landscape gardens, botanical gardens, a zoo. What else? A velodrome. They held some Olympics here in 1900, although was it called the Olympics? I don't really know. But it was originally an ancient forest. It's 3 times the size of Central Park, and they've turned, there was an old military training ground which they've turned into a floral gardens as well. So I've never been before, but I think it's close to the hotel and the aircon, so probably a safe bet for today. So I thought we would go and explore it. "29 degrees. It's chilly actually. Not really. Feels like you're walking through a sauna. So we're going to take a really slow wander around the Lake Damersil. Oh, for God's sake. Anyway, hopefully there'll be a caption along the bottom here, so you don't have to put up with my terrible pronunciations. As you can see behind me, there are lots of little boats parked which you can hire, but everyone's cleverly not doing so today because it's too hot to move. So we'll have a little walk around here and maybe get onto its 2 islands and see the grotto and some of the monuments and the Temple of Love, which I'm excited about. Might be nice and cold. Let's go. I'm so impressed by the people who are running in this weather, but I wouldn't try it myself, being of a slightly delicate constitution. Just up ahead there I can see the bridge, which I think will allow us to get onto the 2 islands. So I'll switch the camera off and rejoin you. Just about to cross the bridge to one of the first island, and I think we can get through to the other from there. This might be the Temple d'Amour. I make it sound so romantic. Temple of Love. I'm going inside to see what happens. Ooh. It's lovely, cool, really peaceful spot. It's amazing how so much of French architecture, well, how much it shares with British, I suppose, because of all that Georgian stuff and the designs they brought back from Palmyra in the 1800s. Sort of copied, this sort of neoclassical trend. Oh, what's that? That's interesting. Better not jump down there, that's quite a steep drop. I can just see poking through the trees over there some kind of weird rocky structure. I wonder if that's the zoo. But more people running. Oh, it's those handsome guys. Maybe that's why I'm in the Temple of Love. Doubt it. Let's jog on. This is brilliant. Come in here. Hi, pigeon. I feel like we should be leaving some kind of tribute. Might make a wish. Feels good. Look at these incredible stalagmites. Woo, a lot of Canada geese. There's a little baby geese. Oh, and someone's left a Coke can here as their tribute. This is probably the coolest place in Paris right now. In more ways than one. That little pigeon's got the right idea. And that one. If I was a pigeon, this is where I'd hang out. Ah, it's magical. These beautiful old trees as well. Someone's sleeping bag. I think there might be quite a lot of rough sleepers and stuff here. I think this park has another side at night. That little building up ahead there is my hotel, which is very handy, but I already feel like I'm much further away. So we're on the first island. Ooh, big bird. And that's the main rest of the park. So I think I'm going to try and get to the next island and go, so keep travelling north. Look at the size of these incredible trees. Other than helping a man get off the island because he was trapped, I've discovered something else. Look at this little peacock. He's in the bushes. He's quite shy. Hello. But there's loads of them wandering around. There's about 3 of them over here. Let's go and see if we can get a bit closer. Look at his beautiful feathers. Now we're standing at the south of the lake, so you can see the temple behind and I think we're going to head northeast now, which is about a half-hour walk, so I'll disappear for a while. We're going to skirt past the zoo, and we're going to go to the chateau and have a look at the floral gardens, which I think should be pretty exciting. The temperature is rising fast, so I've decided we're going to take a more scenic route through the forest, and we're going to take this shady wander through the arboretum, so we should see some really nice trees and also stay a little bit cooler. There's actually a lovely breeze, which down here is vaguely cool, as opposed to walking around the lake, which was just like having the heater blowing in your face. Although I said last night to a man in the hotel, and he did give me a funny look. Maybe that means something different in French. But anyway, look at this lovely waterway. I think I'll stick in the shade as much as possible, and then we can have a grand lunch at the chateau and wander around, look at the lovely flowers. My spidey sense is tingling. I was going to go over there off the beaten track a bit, but I just got a bad feeling about it. So let's get back on the main path. What I'm looking for is a big sort of obelisk that was built at the meeting of the Grand Avenues after I think the King Louis XIV opened the park to the public. So this was way before it was a public park and the Paris renovations. I think like almost 100 years before, maybe more. But and then after that it became the big military ground. But all this forest was left alone. And this has been here yonks and yonks. And then in the 1800s it was an official arboretum, I think. And then they established a school here as well for ecology and clever nature stuff and all that. Just been wandering through the forest on all these lovely little secluded paths, but I'm going to take this hot exposed one in the full sun because my little peepers see some kind of spire, and I'm hoping that is the obelisk we're looking for. This isn't the arboretum, by the way. I got that really confused. I think I called it an arboretum. The arboretum is in the southeast corner, so hopefully we'll zigzag over there later on if I don't die of heat exhaustion. boy. Oh boy. I am melting. It's me and the pigeons. Look, one white pigeon. Hi. Over there, you can see the chateau, and I think that might be some sort of monastery, church, something. We'll find out about it when we get to it. But look at all this. Amazing. No one else is mad enough to be out in this heat in the full sun. They're probably all having lunch and drinking wine, which is also a very good idea. But we'll go up to the chateau later. I can see dead ahead of me, I can see this pyramid, which I'm really determined to get to. So bear with me, and I'll see you again in a moment. Well folks, I hope you appreciate this pile of stone I've walked all this way to bring to you. Holy moly, it's so hot. I'm so looking forward to drinking an entire bottle of water in about 2 minutes flat. But we're approaching, it's not moving unless that's a mirage. We are approaching the meeting point of these grand alleyways. Look at that. It's like autumn already, the leaves are all browning. Look at this beautiful stone pyramid. This was built by Louis XIV in 1731, and that was after he'd laid out this, opened this part to the public and laid out these long alleyways, which we've just experienced, and planted tons and tons of trees, as you can see, keeping us cool and shady right now. So here's the pyramid. So this was actually before the renovation of Paris that happened in the 1860s or so, when this was made like a proper public park. This is just the king opening it, because this place used to be whatever, kings, emperors, what are they? Kings, they're kings in France. So that you can even see north, south, east, west, so that's south and that's north, and we want to go up that way to get to the remains of the chateau. And it was all prior to Louis XIV. It was a bit of a royal playground, and that was, I can't remember the dude, maybe the one before him, that built Versailles. They had this big palace built here on the edge of the park, and he had one wing for himself and one for the Queen as well, so pretty fancy. And as I understand it, some shit went down. So anyway, I'm gonna stop blabbering, drink some water, and then rejoin you at the chateau. Hello, I'm standing outside the gatehouse of the vast Chateau de Vincennes. Still not managing the French. I'm just going to walk towards it. This was a royal residence from the 14th century to the 18th century. I'm going to go in and see what we can explore before it gets too unbearably hot, because it was quite exposed. It's got 3 gates, 6 towers, massive keep. It's 52 metres high maybe, or maybe that's the donjon. I don't really know what that is, but it's where our King Henry V died. And look at this moat. Let's go see what we can learn. I've asked if I can use my GoPro here, because it's still the military area apparently. I guess owned by the military, which makes sense because it used to be, they used to have armaments here and stuff, didn't they, during the revolution? I don't really know. But anyway, here we are. until someone stops me. I'm gonna record. So that's the gatehouse we just came through, and there's the Chapelle Sainte Marie, let's say. I don't really know, but there's where you get your tickets. But I'm not buying any. I'm just gonna wander around the outside here and enjoy the sunshine. This was a smaller area when it was kind of a base for Royal Hunting Lodge in 1150 or so, but then it became a manor, I think, in the 13th or 14th century. And oh, is this the donjon? This must be the donjon. The Donjon de Saint Louis. I want to know what a donjon is. Dungeon? No. Maybe. It's a pretty nice one though, and it makes a lot of sense because a lot of people have been imprisoned here. Okay, right, check that out. That's got to be the keep then, and that was later. So here's a brief history. It was a like hunting grounds, and then it became a big manor, and then in the 14th century loads of this stuff got built and it got really expanded, and then I think in the 17th century it was expanded a bit more. Look at that. 52 metres high that is. I'll check my facts now. Yeah, I tell you what, it was the 14th century, and it was King Charles V of France. Needed a massive place to keep all his art and nice things, so he built this. And after that, the 17th century, Louis XIV came along, and that was kind of the end of the royal family being resident here. He went off and built Versailles, but apparently there are these two wings that he put in across a parterre garden. One for his mum and one for the cardinal. So that's definitely what I'd do in that situation. You know, a bit of balance between most important people in your life. So I don't know if it's the donjon, or that thing, but somewhere Henry V of England died here after the siege of Meaux, M-E-A-U-X, however you say that, Frenchies. And yeah, the Agincourt guy. Once more onto the breach, dear friends, him. He died here, which is quite interesting for all you England people. Don't know if I can really go and film in the chapel, but it's bloody lovely, isn't it? There are those gargoyles. Ooh, sticking out phallically. Doesn't look like I'll get to see much of poor old Notre Dame. So it's a kind of treat to see this. I didn't expect this today. I wonder if this is where the parterres are. I think this is the tower in the woods. So I've learned so far on this little wander that there are still Ministry of Defence operations here for France, I suppose, which is why you can't go in anywhere. But I think that was the King's place and that was the Queen's place originally, and they could visit each other across that when they weren't arguing about passing the salt and stuff, I'm guessing. And this is the tower in the woods, and half of it was demolished. Understand that? Also, you're not supposed to walk on the grass, but I definitely saw someone doing that. Ooh. Excuse me. I think if you climb that, you maybe get to ring the bell and make a wish. But I'm cool, I've already made 10 wishes today anyway, so it's whatever, fine. Save my euros for lemonade. Let's see if we can go and get into the park of flowers now. I'm standing by the remains of the medieval fountain, which was found in the 90s. I can't even see what I'm pointing this camera at. I think I'm going to get out of this full sun for a little bit, wander down the side, go outside and round, because it looks like the two big gates to get out the other side to the forest is closed, so woodland rather. So I'm going to go all the way around the outside of the building, back to the woodland to go to the flower park. What do you call that in grown-up language? I don't know, my brain is cooked. They say there's no such thing as a free lunch. Unless, of course, you've paid for breakfast and then you stole this and some cheese. Sorry, I'll finish this first. Gonna have to wash that down. So, behind us is the chateau. We've just come all the way down the eastern side of it, and I'm now sitting paused outside the, if you can see the big sign behind me, the back to front white, no letters are a bit far away, but the Parc Floral de Paris, and when I say that it comes out Spanish, but I'm working on it. And this was opened only in 1969. So the history of this is that after Louis XIV reforested the park, he put his long, as we saw earlier, his long trails, his trees, his fucking pyramid, which really wore me out. After he'd done that, not much else was going on over in this area. And then after the French Revolution, Napoleon Bonaparte used this as a training ground for military manoeuvres. So it was still under military control. And then even after this place was made into a public park in the 19th century, this was kind of just a nothingy sort of place. So in the 1960s there were a few big botanical expositions in Paris, and then they decided to design and open this. So the city architects put this together. In 1969 it opened. It's got 4 different landscaped areas, and is one of the 4 botanical gardens around Paris. So just about got all that out. Obviously 50 years old now, so we'll go and see what's established in that time. But first I'm going to finish my roll before I go mad. Yep, looks like there are killer caterpillars around here. So I'm going to have to keep a lookout. The other thing I've realised on my shady wander through botanical glory is that with this hat I feel very much like Sam Neill in Jurassic Park, which makes me really happy. I could just like do this, you know, seen a dinosaur. Now I'll go back to being Michael Jackson. Oh, this is nice. Okay, I'm going to turn the camera around now. Check it out! Beautiful little inner oasis. this must be like their version of Capel Manor College in Regent's Park. There's got to be like an English version, right? What does the bells mean? Folding branches? I'm learning so much. Hello. Medicinal plants. Herbs. Happy noises. It's a nature library. Well done, France. It's very nice. I think I might have to take many photos just now. Back in a moment. Okay, this is pretty lovely, isn't it? They do a good border. And I think I can hear some water, so I'm going to turn the camera around now and see what else we can find. That's a cool amphitheatre. Look at all these Canada geese. And there is just no one around here. There's no one else as mad as me. Fun. That is a lovely breeze. Look at these insect hotels. Still, I bet they don't have aircon. Fun! Ooh, wow, check that out. And if you can even see with how bright the sun is, you can just about see the lights from the racetrack beyond the trees there. It's not massive, but it's full of lovely planting. Photo time now, I think. I think I'm just about finishing up here at the floral gardens. I have one last walk along this lovely border, which is kind of a bizarre mix of early spring and summer. And look at these still going. Kind of amazing. Yeah, it's been an absolutely lovely day. Really perfect alternative to running and to sightseeing around sweaty museums and buses or going on the train, which I really didn't fancy today. So I think, I've only scratched a little bit the surface of this huge area of land, and I would have liked to have got down to the Arboretum, but I think I've run out of Lucasade now and I think I might be pushing it, so I'm going to have a nice shady wander home to my hotel cold shower, and then hit the town for some wine, I think. But I'll have food with it, because I know you're supposed to do that in France.